Welcome to another live. This is live stream number 19. I can't believe that I'm on my 19th live stream. It's just crazy. It's crazy. I have a few things here I want to talk about. Welcome to everyone that is already here. Quite a few of the early and usual viewers I see already. I'll give you some mentions here in just a second. I'll check all the comments. First, I want to go over the three main topics. Hold my hand up high enough. The three main topics, I'm assuming you can hear me. Yep, I see my audio inputs good. The three main topics that I have for today, which are bike snobbery, probably guessed that one from the thumbnail image. The second is a package that arrived that's right over here. It's actually from a subscriber, but it's a segue into something else that I've been struggling with. A decision that I have to make. So I'm going to show that, talk about and thank them. Even though I can't think of my name. We'll talk about that. And also, I want to talk about what I think is possibly going to save local bike shops. So we'll talk about all of that in today's live stream. Get rid of that piece of paper. And let me give a quick hellos here before we get going. And by the way, yeah, my hair is wet. And that's not freshly washed. That is freshly from outside in our massive humidity. We're already at like July levels of humidity. It's horrible. Horrible. I got out on the trail this morning. When I got there, it was 72 degrees and it still had that nice, just that little bit of crispness, that morning air. And 30 minutes later, I was literally drenched. It's that when I'm driving home, I'm leaned forward so I'm not leaning against my seats. It was horrible. And that was in 30 minutes. Just crazy. So let me give some hellos here. Hey, Willard Buchanan. Nice to see you here. And hey, Gulf City Nicholas. And I always just say Gulf City Nicholas. I always leave out the Danka. But hello to you. I will look at your comments more. I'll give you a glance now. Ride whatever bike you want. You're talking about the bike snobbery. I see people already honing in on that. And this is an important thing. I'm going to get to it. And it's kind of might be backwards of what you're thinking. But Old Man's Adventures, hello to you. Simrig. PC27B, hello. Did I already say Harry Grimley? No, I said Willard Buchanan. That's two names that usually pop up. Hello to you, Harry Grimley. And JB, there's another one that we regularly see here. Keo's Mountain Bike Adventures, hello to you. Welcome. AX, is that Axe Crafter? I think I'm saying that proper now. I usually say AX3, but I think it's Axe Crafter. So Backdraft, hello. Have I seen that icon looks familiar. Well, hello to you, Will Tompkins. Hello, Joel A-Bar. Dimebag Coins. Hello to everyone. I hope I didn't miss anyone in there. If I do, always go back after the live stream is over and look at everything. So I just found these glasses. So I'm hoping that I can work with them and there's not too much glare. Too much glare from up here. Yeah, that's getting thinner. So we'll get going today on this. I want to talk about bike snobbery. And the bike snobbery directly relates to that bike. If you haven't already spotted, that is the Schwinn Standpoint. I almost called it the Schwinn 4300. The Schwinn, which is kind of a chuckle with me if you knew when I was editing that, how many times I said Trek 4300 and had to edit it out. Because this reminded me of my Trek 4300. I made a follow-up video. After this is over with, I will put a link to that down in the description, but it is 2 videos ago, I believe, 2 full videos ago. I talked about this bike and Schwinn Signature and how Schwinn's signature is a step up. And I had no idea when I made that statement the wrath that I was going to receive in comments. I have people, regular viewers, saying, Schwinn's paying you to say that. No, Schwinn doesn't pay me anything. No, nobody pays me anything. It's horrible. It's a horrible life, but I can guarantee you, Schwinn definitely does not pay me anything. And I specifically asked to take a look at this bike simply based on the nostalgia I had for my old 4300. But going back, I rewatched that video. I probably could have worded things a little better and toned down my enthusiasm for that old 43. You have no idea how much I loved my old 4300. I absolutely adored that bike. Even when I quit riding, it sat in my bedroom. Can't tell you how many times I bumped into that thing until one day I bumped into it one too many times. Said, today's the day I'm going to sell this bike. I sold it. I think it was like a year, maybe two later. I was back into mountain biking, wishing I still had that bike. Who knew? Of course, things have advanced greatly since then. But in that Schwinn signature video, I did go into it enthusiastic, but it wasn't so much about this bike. It was more about the Trek 4300 and how this reminds me of the Trek 4300. But I will stand by a few things. I want to clarify that. And I think this is where bike snobbery, it hit me. When all this started going on, I was reading all the comments. I was like, wow, it's kind of interesting because we can now be bike snobs within our big box bike world. How interesting is that? How things have changed between 2019 and 2023. That now we can actually look down on specific bikes. That's a big deal. That is a big deal, and I'm laughing because it's kind of a good thing. I don't necessarily like bike snobbery. I didn't even know it existed until I started doing all of this. But I didn't know that it was as entrenched until I started doing all this. But now we actually have bike snobbery here in our big box in our big box midst, and it's not really bad. I'm not critiquing anyone for being a bike snob and looking at something and going, well, this should have different components in 2023. Yeah, I'll get that, and I'll even say I wouldn't go out and buy this for $449.99. I wouldn't turn it down if this was what I was looking for. When I first saw this, and I thought, hey, I could turn that into my 4300 experience. If I could pull that off, then great. More joy to me, and no one can look down on anyone for anything like that. But there are people pointed out, rightly so, and I probably should have mentioned it in the video, but I did not. People pointed out that the Aggressor Pro, the GT Aggressor Pro, was on sale for $299.99. And comparing the two, well, it's obvious which one would be chosen. Now that's $399.99, but still, I would probably choose that before I would choose, well, definitely would choose that before I would choose this. But I want to go over some things here. Some things I saw in comments that I want to make sure we're all on the same level about, so that we kind of don't turn into what a lot of us don't like when we go. And I can give you a story if I remember. I will give you a story that happened recently with me on a mountain bike trail. It doesn't happen often. I think it's happened 2 or 3 times, but this one time really stood out to me, and it was the most recent thing. So I'll talk about my wording. When I say step up for Schwinn signature, people said that is not a step up. Schwinn signature is not a step up. Well, you could say that's not a step up, or a specific bike isn't a step up, but to say Schwinn signature as a line of bikes is not a step up is kind of arguing with the stop sign. Because Schwinn has their big box Schwinn. That's the standard, you just see Schwinn on a bike. All our Axums, that as awesome as they are, our Tafts, down to, I'm going blank on Schwinn names right now. I could go through the usuals that I feature here, but is it Bellgood or Bellwood? Things like that. Bikes we see at Walmart, we see at Target, other big box stores, those are standard line Schwinn. And then there is Schwinn signature. I said a step up, and people, they honed in on 2 things, just word core. They honed in on me saying that Schwinn signature is a step up, and using this bike as an example, and I can kind of understand half of that argument, but saying that Schwinn's signature is not a step up is not true, and I'll get into why that is. The second thing they honed in on were the rim brakes and the 3x7 with the tourney, and rightfully so. I wasn't saying when I said everything, and bad wording on my part, I said everything. This is what happens when I don't storyboard, I don't film based off my storyboard, and then I don't script and do voiceover. When I'm just talking live, in my enthusiasm for my 4300 experience, I said step up, and everything about this is a step up. What I should have said is everything about the experience of buying a Schwinn signature bike is a step up. You're not buying from a store, a big box store that has the base assembly, sometimes the loose bars, we know how that goes. You're actually getting a bike mechanic that has gone through the bike, and usually the parts are kind of that one tier up. I can even point out on this thing, I said the welds on this were better. People pointed out Axum welds are pretty good. Yeah, Axum welds are really good. Compared to the rest of some of the lineup that you see on bikes at other big box stores, Walmart, Target, and so on, the Axum welds are stellar. The welds on this are, I think, possibly a little better. And I can't show them here on camera close up, but you can go back and you can watch the video. They look pretty good, but it's the frame on this. Here's my case in point argument here for Schwinn's signature, even with these components. This bike was 31 pounds, 31 point something. I can't remember the dot part. The Schwinn aluminum comp, another 27.5 wheel bike, weighs 36 pounds. So that's roughly a 5 pound savings. That is the better kind of that step up frame type thing that I was talking about, and what I probably should have elaborated more on in my video when I talked about that and caught some flack and made me start thinking, well, interesting here. But also, I want to talk about, there's a couple of components here. Now, the 3x7, I can't defend that. I can't, and there's no defense of that. And anyone that tries, that's the same 3x7 that we've seen on $250 bikes, $200 bikes, or probably $150 bikes if you go back a couple of years. These wheels, I haven't seen these specific wheels on a big box bike that has rim brakes. These remind me of my Bontrager wheels if you just put a sticker on. I said Bontrager, you could easily fool me with these wheels. These rim brakes, there they are. These rim brakes, they're power branded. Yeah, I get that. But these arms that are on these rim brakes, I can't even see. I'm feeling around here. These arms, that felt like a stanchion. Probably have dirty fingers now. But these brake arms, I haven't seen this on a big box Schwinn, this specific rim brake setup. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a bike out there with it. There might be. One that I'm not familiar of, no. Still doesn't save the fact that in 2023, it's a rim brake with 3x7 drivetrain. But overall, the experience you get, Schwinn signature, step up with Schwinn signature. Local bike shops carry the Schwinn signature line. And that's what I was talking about. I should have elaborated a little better, but in my enthusiasm, so let me tell you, when I look at this bike, I see from 10 feet away the Trek 4300, different color, but that's kind of what I see, and that's what kind of led me back. I talked about, I don't know if it was in my base review or in that last video, that Schwinn signature video. I think it was in the Schwinn signature video where I talked about nostalgia. You have over here, you have the actual event that happened. And then on this side, you have today. So actual event today. And what happens with nostalgia is everything that's happened in between then can kind of bleed the two together. And what you remember happening isn't necessarily how it actually ends up, or it ended up being or actually is. Case in point with that, since that video, I actually wrote a list and I thought I had it, but it turns out I didn't. I'm not going all the way back up to the house to get the thing. But I had a little list where I just made kind of a pros and cons list, but it was actually just the 4300. I looked up all the specs on my original old 4300. And by the way, the color on that was called matte chrome. Matte chrome is pretty cool. Pretty cool design. I listed the specs on it, and then I listed the specs on this bike. And after I did that, the 4300 definitely had, if I had that bike today, and I rode it and then rode this, there would not be much of a comparison. I will say that. But still, Schwinn standpoint, it's not a bad bike. People were trashing it, and I get that because it's not what we're used to now with modern Schwinn. But I had people that commented they had this bike. There were two that I know of. I think there might have been three, but two that I know of that loved it. They commented, so they're glad I reviewed it. They love their Schwinn standpoint. And who am I? Even though we can kind of decisively be a little bit snobbery in what we want in our own bike, I mean, who are we to judge what someone else gets and that they enjoy? Because that's kind of what big box biking is all about. And I specifically wrote down here, hyper shocker. Because there was something that happened to me when I started doing this channel. My first few bike videos, I think I did a Trek DS video, and then I had a friend that wanted to get into biking and showed up with a hyper shocker, and I kind of trashed that bike. And then there might have been another one. It's so far back, I can't remember. I think there were some bikes that went, and I got to the Boundary. And it was when I got the Boundary, not the 2020 Boundary, the 2019 Boundary, but this was in 2018 or so. It was when I got to that bike that I was like, no, wait a minute. Some of these, and I'd already been changing my viewpoint. It's not even proper English, had already been. My viewpoint had already changed somewhat because my buddy couldn't afford to go down to the local bike shop and buy the same Trek that I had, or a Trek, or any other big box bike at the time, scraping pennies. So 110, 120, I think at that point, I think a hyper shocker was like 99 bucks at that point, so 110, 120 tax and all. That was a big deal to him, a very big deal. So while he's looking for a bike that he can afford and go pick up, because most people, and I asked my father at one point, where would you go if you needed to buy a bike? And he said, well, Walmart's the only place to get them. Even though I had a Trek, he thought Walmart was just where you went to get bikes. It's where just go to a big box store. So my buddy, needing a bike, finally found the Boundary. I'd already started thinking, okay, so I get that even though it's a bike I wouldn't ride, there's a bike out there for everyone. Kind of KevCentral was forming into what it is today already without me even thinking about it at that point. But it was when I got that first Boundary, that pre-2020, 2019 Boundary, even though, again, it was in 2018. That was when he really locked onto that bike, and I looked at that bike and thought, wow, this is not like all those other bikes that I see, and definitely not like that Shocker or any of the other bikes. But forward to after my buddy actually bought the Boundary from me, and we rode it multiple times out at the trails. He rode it at trails where he lives an hour and a half away. He rode it for quite a bit. I had KevCentral turned into what it is today, so to speak. In the meantime of KevCentral being what it is, I'd started to respect big box bikes and do respect big box bikes of all calibers. But before I got to all calibers, there was something that actually changed me. I had someone comment on a hyper shocker video that was at that point a couple of years old. And I guess they were younger because it said my mom worked hard, my single mom worked hard, overtime, double jobs, all that stuff, to get me a bike. She bought me a hyper shocker, and I love that bike. It does everything that I need it to do. So I don't like that you're trashing that bike, because in a way you're putting down my mom, because she worked hard. She picked that bike out and she got it for me. There's a little bug in here flying around. I don't know if you can see that. That kind of bothered me, that I had put out a video trashing something that for me I wouldn't buy, for me to ride, but that someone else really enjoyed. Knowing that I'd already started to fall in love with big box bikes and affordable cycling and all that. And that's why I made that second video where I revisited the hyper shocker and I looked at it for what it actually is, a bike that someone can enjoy. And that's why I try not to trash stuff. There's nothing I dislike overall about this bike. It's a bike, I could ride it, and I actually have a little bit of still nostalgia for this. Even though it's not the 4300, it still does remind me of it. So when I'm talking positive about something, maybe it comes out that I'm not just gonna overtly trash a bike. But at the same time, I understand that we can kind of now be bike snobs even in our own ranks because we have those really, really good bikes. And sometimes I don't compare bikes when I'm doing a base. I like the bike to stand on its own or a view to stand on its own. And then usually I go back and start comparing stuff. So eventually I would have gotten there. But that's the story of the Schwinn signature, what I meant when I made that second video, and also how I see that we can kind of look down a little bit on specific bikes that might not be for us, but be careful with that because we don't want to kind of dissuade anyone. If they're in our midst, we need to kind of prop them up. Say, hey, whatever bike you have, if you can enjoy that, bring it on. Let's ride. Let's have some fun. I could take at the latest trail, there's one little section out at the new trail. I promise you, I could go buy a $98, one of those $98 bikes that they have on sale at Walmart regularly. I could go buy one of those. As long as the wheels are true and I can pedal it and roll it, there's a section of the trails out there that I could have fun. Just kind of casually riding on a trail, dipping the toe in the water, so to speak, for anyone that wanted to try out with 99 bucks. So even at Wildwood, someone could ride even a $98, $99 bike. Anyway, there's that. I even mentioned the price. I mentioned, my nostalgia. I wrote this a bunch of times on here. My nostalgia does get in the way because I so loved that old bike. I mentioned the list. Mentioned that. So anyway, there we go. Oh wait, I'll get into the second part. Let me check comments here for just a second, and then I'll get into the second part of where I'm a bike snob, where I have turned into a total bike snob without even meaning to, but it's a reverse bike snob. It's from big box looking at expensive bikes and thinking, why are you riding that out here? So I'll get to that. So let me just take a glance here and see now that I've made however long that was. Oh, did I talk for 20 minutes on bike snobs? See, Alpha Aluminum Frame, talking about that 4300 Thomas H. Has two of them. So good. Sean Garrison, Pacific Cycle should be paying you. Hey, preach to them. Preach to them. I don't turn down money, but I don't do the sponsored thing. So I like it like it is. Just getting a look. And hey, Kev, that's J-Kev. Typo. J-Kev, Keo, I've already said hey to you. Let's get down here. All right, here we are. I see the mongoose box. Yes, you do see a mongoose box back there. And I'm going to get my head out of the way here. My big melon, you can even see I'll get into that. I got some things to say there. I'll get into the other box and the other bike you see hanging up there. I'm a backwards bike snob. I don't Harry Grimley, I'm telling you, so many of us here on this channel, regular viewers, I don't know what it is. I guess because so many of us like big box bikes and we like bikes, that means we're going to like so many other things. I mentioned RC stuff. Somebody mentioned Seth was into RC. I've been into RC for years. And so literally since I was a kid. It's so funny that we have so many common interests. And now I see someone that, my backwards bike snobbery, I just mentioned that. If I would have looked over and saw your comment, I would have said something at the exact point. JB, hello again. Dan Bettle, hey to you. Seen you in a previous live stream. And yes, I am doing well. And everyone in chat, I hope they're doing well too. Hey, Saddle Tramp 1200. The Spandex crew, they hate me. That is funny. I think I've told this before. Years ago, 4300 days again, I used to see people in biker shorts, little spandex biker shorts. So I bought some biker shorts and I rode those, I'm not kidding, for a good year, maybe longer. And I can remember going down the road and, well, I wanted to tell you, but I didn't realize it at the time, but I later realized I bought liners. They weren't actual bike shorts. They were bike short liners or liners. And I was wearing those out at the trail, going up, talking to people, everything. So just imagine a guy in biker underwear walking around. Totally me, totally blue. I'm pretty sure I even rode downtown and stuff in those shorts. So yeah, Spandex crew. I was unknowingly part of that in a very, very bad way for a while. But nothing wrong, even with the spandex people. If I could pull it off, I would do it. They're in better shape than me, riding those road bikes and stuff. All right, so I'm just going to kind of scan through again. I'll go through and look at everyone's comments, see what anyone has to say. Hey, Grand Canyon about bike snobbery, and if anyone mentioned anything about the Schwinn signature here. Grand Canyon 5 is $500 with full Ooh, that is a good deal. Benji 22, if you could head over to my website after this and share the link to that, I'd be curious to take a peek at that. I saw a Canyon the other day that made me look, but I don't think it was a full suspension. So yeah, and there was John Lewandowski. He loves a 4300 too. Someone mentions a Schwinn Point Beach 79cc motor. It's 12 years old and that little 79cc still running? Or is the bike 12 years old? Be curious to know that. And hey, thiosemi-carbazide benzoyl alcohol, hello to you. This is probably the oldest name that sticks out to me from the early days of KevCentral. I'm glad to see you here. Pacific Bike picks from a catalog like everyone else. Yeah, I don't know about that. Well, actually, I know that is not completely true. I'm not saying that certain bikes might not be that case, but I know that they actually do have a design department because I have seen the technical drawings on bikes that they were considering making, and I've seen how... Was that them? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was them. I've seen technical drawings, and I've seen things change from technical drawings to like the final technical drawing and stuff like that. So they actually design their own bikes. At least the ones that I deal with usually, most of the mountain bikes that we're seeing, at least the 2020, well, I'll say this is 2020 plus data, so anything beyond that, at least that I've seen. Issue is price tag for $400, rim brakes. Okay, here we go. Gulf City Nicholas Danka is talking about, yeah, the issue is kind of the feature set in the modern times, but believe it or not, some people look for this stuff. Some people look for this type thing, and apparently it sells well because they still make it. They're not gonna keep pushing stuff out there that doesn't sell, but I don't know when that was designed. It'd be interesting for me to look up and see when that, because I talked about the Impasse, that Impasse Dual that I made a video on, that Mongoose Impasse Dual, and that was a 2015-ish kind of design, I believe, is when that started. So, an older design there. I'd be curious to find out the date on this. Zebra Fetish. Hey Kev, what do you think the successor to the Ledge X2 will be? My friend, I don't know. Given the way things are right now, we might be seeing most of what we already have for quite a while. I'm starting to suspect, I don't know, because there's such a glut out there. Have you even noticed that Trek no longer does a year model? Now they do the Gen thing, so they can just tweak little things without changing, like paint color maybe, without having to change the whole bike because there's such a glut of bikes. And that was told to me by someone kind of in the know, that was the reason. I think they were even suspecting, but they kind of have some connections. So even, I'm about to say big box, I'm looking at big box written here. Even local bike shops, they're having trouble moving a lot of their inventory. So really, I wonder, X2 might be with us for a while, but we'll see. We'll see. Just hang in tight. There are a couple of surprises that I expect will be coming soon. I mean, this is pretty good. I'd like to see these guys do a little full suspension Ozark Trail stuff. So I'll talk about that in just a second. And just a quick glance. Step Up is actually a different alloy. And I don't know the actual alloy on this. Might even be on the frame there. I don't remember looking and seeing on the alloy. But I know there's hydroforming, different levels of hydroforming. I was told that by someone that dealt with bike shop brands, that the different tiers of their frames were different. Actually, that wasn't bike shop. That was actually when I talked to Trek. Trek told me that the hydroforming was different. This was just via support. It wasn't like I had a contact or anything. They told me there were different levels of hydroforming, and that led to their alpha, alpha silver and alpha gold, and I don't know what their grades are off the top of my head. Hey, Mike Riley. Wait, there's someone again, Michael Burnett, hello to you. Big box bike shaped objects. I remember that term. I remember that bike shaped objects, seeing that. And Desve, I'm sorry if I'm slaughtering your name. Hello to you. I'm going to get to Mike Riley here. I'm a member of BSA, Bike Snobs of America. You know, see BSA and my mind instantly was going to the factory, the plant, or not factory, it's an assembly plant in South Carolina that I toured and was supposed to go back to, but I haven't heard from them. And that's that whole Kent group and all that. I reached back out to my contact a couple of times. I haven't heard anything, so I don't know what's going on with them. But I know they came out with some pretty impressive bikes with that, what's the line? Giordano and, of course, the Trouvel. Who doesn't like the Trouvel? Joy Key is a new standard for big box bikes. Let's see, there's lineup hardtail standard. Okay, I'll read all that later. And someone here bought RB Jones, 1996, bought a Kent Trouvel. Get crazy wheel shake when pulling on front brakes. Seems like more the fork than the headset. What are the chances? Could be. Wait, are you getting that when you're going down a big hill? Is it like flexing towards you, or is it kind of shuddering back and forth? Because there's a difference. If it's flexing towards you, then you are overstressing the fork. Need to check that fork, but you know, those factory forks aren't super strong, but the Torney's fork isn't really bottom tier, so I'd be surprised if it were flexing. I mean, you'd have to be cooking it to flex it front to back. Now, side to side, the wheel could be out of true, or the brake rotor could be out of true, and you're getting some wobble back and forth there. So anyway, I'll look at all of these other comments again. I go, hey, Dave Gravitt, I see you there, JS23. Some of the regulars, I love seeing all you guys here. So happy that everyone is here. So let me tell you about my reverse bike snobbery and my experience. I've told you before about, again, going back to the 4300, and again, you have no idea how many times I had to edit out me saying Trek 4300 or my old 4300 when I made this video. Pretty much every time there was a quick cut, I had said it, and it was still in there about 30 or 40 times. So just crazy. But on that bike, I've talked about the people that were kind of making fun of me, and I didn't even realize they were making fun of me. So bike snobbery clearly existed back then. But what has happened to me since I started upgrading bikes, and the story that I want to share with you today, within the past few months, I was out at the local trail riding with someone. Actually, there's two events that I'll share. But this most recent one, I was out at the local trail riding with someone, and I don't know if there's a Specialized or if their bike is a Trek. Honestly, I can't even remember what bike they were on, but it's a nice bike. It's a nice bike. And we ran into someone that was riding some of the local trails that wasn't from around here. They were close, I think, but they were because they knew some of the other trails. I saw them earlier on the trail and kind of said, hey, just in passing, that little quick hey. And then we met up with them at, I don't know, about a quarter way up the trail, met up with them again, and they had stopped, so we stopped. And a conversation started between the other rider and that person, and they literally started talking to them, looked over at me, looked down at my bike, and if I'm not mistaken, I was on a Hyper that day, and I want to say it was my Hyper Project X, the 26 that I've converted to 27.5. I think that was the bike. It was either that or Project Comp, kind of one of those two bikes, if I remember properly. Well, obviously I'm not remembering totally because I can't remember the exact bike. But I know they made eye contact with me while they're talking to the other person. They looked down at my bike. There was just this little, I'll try to mimic it here. I'm talking, and I looked down, just that little, barely that head coming back thing. And then they started talking. They never even looked at me again. Never said a word to me while the entire conversation were going on. And I thought, what a total, well, I can't tell you my actual thought, but I can summarize it here and say, what a bike snob. I'll leave it there. What a bike snob. And not only that, the bike that they were on, whatever it was, I've looked up and forgotten, but it was multi thousands of dollars. And I saw them riding the green trail, and I saw them going slower than I go. on the green trail. And they were talking about like all this great riding that they do on their expensive bike. And they were barely getting through the little green trail on their multi-$1,000 bike. So in my mind, instantly, I became a reverse bike snob. Actually, I already become that. But I had started, because I look around and I see people. Like, wasn't it Willard Buchanan? Or was it Harry Grimley? It was either Harry Grimley or Willard Buchanan that just said a reverse bike snob. I've totally become that. And I don't want to be that way. But I have totally become that when I look and I see someone out at the trail on a $10,000 full suspension bike riding the same trails that I might be riding on a $250 big box bike that have put another $400 in. If I can pull that off and have fun doing it, and they're riding, a $10,000 bike on those same trails, I kind of have this little, You're overbiked. You're overbiked. It's no different than the time that I was on I-565 going into Huntsville, and there was a guy in a Ferrari doing 35 miles an hour on I-565, holding everyone up, and they're at least in this one lane with lanes zipping all around us. And when I went to pass, it was a little old man. And I thought, it's kind of sad that he probably only afford that when he got old. So good for him for getting his car, but really a Ferrari and doing 3,500 or 35 miles an hour, kind of the same thing to me. Kind of the same thing to me to take an expensive bike. And I can even go, this was during the 2020 shutdown thing. I went to Joe Wheeler State Park. There's a quote mountain bike trail on there, but it's not really a mountain bike trail. It's super wide. It's like a gravel path. I could probably drive my car on it, on most of it. And it's loose gravel, a lot of it, but it's super easy. The only thing hard is they made a lot of 90-degree turns right where a hill starts. It makes it so unfun to ride in many sections. But I had pulled up there one day, and I want to say it was Santa Cruz. I think it was Santa Cruz. I know it was like $8,000 or $10,000 bikes that they had. I'm probably going to say 8, because I can't even remember if it might have even been full suspension e-bikes, Santa Cruz e-bikes. But there were 3 people that had their Santa Cruz bikes, and they just came off that trail, and they were using total mountain bike biker bro lingo. Shred, gnarly, like, I don't even know. That's like biker stuff. I'm not that connected into the mountain bike community. But they were using all of the terms that I apply with, like, or that I hear from skateboarders, at least back in my day, and things like that with the skateboarding. And they were talking about Joe Wheeler State Park, and they looked over at me, and I do know what bike I was on that day. I was on the Schwinn Boundary Electric. And it was my first trail ride, and I was on that bike, and I was getting that bike off, and I saw it. I saw the look. They never spoke to me. They were right beside me. They never spoke to me. As a matter of fact, I think I said I pulled up. I was already there, and they were coming off the trail and started all their talk and all this stuff, and talking about the jump. The jump. There's not a jump at Joe Wheeler. I know what I think they were talking about. There's a hump. There is one little small hump that you can get about this much air on if you build up a little speed and hit it just right. Might get this much air if you're on an e-bike. And you can build up a little faster speed and hit it. I think that's what they were talking about. And I think that is the point that my reverse bike snobbery probably happened. Because I looked over and I thought, I know what I'm about to ride on this trail, and I know that this is kind of overbiking that trail because it's an e-bike. And you're on these, and you're kind of giving me a little side eye when I pull up. No, not going to stand for it. Of course, I didn't say anything because I am kind of a chicken. But I did talk with someone later that knew who that was, and they said, "Oh, they're all 3 hardcore mountain biker bros." So yeah, they would have definitely looked down on you with your little Schwinn Boundary Electric. So that's my story of my reverse bike snobbery. But let me know, do you have, when you see something like this, do you have kind of a little bike snob? Even though it's a big box, you might still be, hey, it's okay, it's something someone could ride. Do you still look at that, at least from a shopper perspective? Do you have, I'll reword that. Do you have shopper bike snobbery? That's a better way to view it, because we're not clearly. we're not, at least I hope that most of us aren't, looking down on anyone with whatever they roll up on. As long as they can ride it and have fun, that's a good thing, and we should always encourage that. So, are you like the retail, the purchasing bike snobbery? Do you have that? And what is it that kind of turns you off about a specific bike? Because I have a list. I have a written list I have this KevCentral spec thing that I've been trying to start for gosh knows how long. But I literally have a list of what should be. I'm not going to tell you the tiers or the classes or how I've divided it up, because I'm hoping that, maybe a Schwinn or a Ken or somebody will pick up a Hyper, will pick up one day, and I can actually get a bike on the market that is exactly the spec that I would build a bike at a specific budget. And I know it can be done, and I know that they can do it cheaper than I can do it. So I think it could be made. So anyway, I have a list of my stuff, and if it doesn't meet my criteria, it's not something that I would buy. Doesn't mean that I look down on anyone that has it, but it means it's not something I would buy. So do you have that? Do you have that, and do you have your list? Do you have your list of components? Let me see. Let me hear what you got. Let me hear what you got. I see Dave Gravitt, a media blaster, and a new paint job, Fox's bike snobbery. You'll see something coming up that ties in a little bit with that. You'll see that coming up. It's coming up fairly soon. As long as the heat doesn't get to me, this humidity is just killing me. For someone that's been in the South practically the biggest bulk of my entire life, I don't handle heat and humidity. I don't handle southern humidity very well at all. And it's like the older I get, the less I'm able to handle it. It's not pretty. So anyway, let me get going here a little further, because we're already 43 minutes in, and I don't want this to go over an hour. I don't want this, but I am happy that I was able to get to my main topic right away. I will skip this next one. I'll put it in a different video, if I even put it in at all. So let me give another quick glance here at comments, just any quick things that jump out. Say some hi. Hey, Guy Fawkes, how are you? I don't know what you're talking about. That is bad. I'm sure someone else is. Oh, I see. Probably been in a conversation here, but nice to see you here. A regular viewer. Dead polymers. That's funny. I like that. We can do. All right. So we got some conversation. Hey, I enjoy seeing people go back and forth in the stream. So I'll just give some shout outs. Charles Holland, how are you? And if I remember correctly, I can't quite tell, but I think that's an Alabama elephant ear in your icon there, or the elephant head. Renee H, how are you? I love eating dust braggers, showing off expensive bikes with my budget bike. Very awesome. Is that a thing? Is that dust braggers? Is that a term? I didn't know that was a term. I like that. I'm going to borrow that if that's okay. I really like that. Randy, I always look down on a 3x. Yes, that is definitely on my list. Typically on a 3x. I let pass here because it reminded me, 4300 was a 3x. And I promise you, if someone showed up, my bike was still in mint shape. If it had any little scratch, I probably could have told you where every little thing was. I took very good care of that bike. And if someone showed up today with a bike in that exact shape, that like new shape, I'd totally buy it. And I'll be riding that thing out on the trail and having all kinds of fun. All kinds of fun. So I do look down on the 3x7, at least as we know it. Some people have mentioned 2x, and yeah, I still like 2x. That, what was that bike? Can you hear this fan? Is that bothering you guys? I'm gonna hop up here and turn this fan off. When I came out here, I had my air conditioner turned up a little bit, and when I turned on these filming lights that I just looked right into, as soon as I turned on these filming lights, it got real hot real quick. So I turned a fan on there, and apparently the bearings on that thing, a $12 fan, I guess the bearings only held up about 5 or 10 uses. Mike Riley, how are you? So anyway, 2x, a lot of people like 2x, and the Mongoose Salvo Pro had 2x. It worked pretty well on that bike. And that, that's probably the ideal gear range. Maybe a 2x8. You can get so many gears that perfectly work out on a trail. But I like the simplicity, and I like the ease of tuning of only having a rear derailleur Plus, especially on big box bikes. Hey, John Mills. What's Derek John saying here? Hey, John Mills. Kev, love your commitment, bro. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Derek, oh, is that June? I'm sorry. I said John. Derek June, Amazon Eurobikes, yes or no? Okay. I can actually spend just a second on this comment. There is Eurobike. There's Highland. There's another brand that I'm going blank on that I saw regularly on Amazon. And when I looked at those, I looked at them and they reminded me of kind of a $200 Walmart bike. That's pretty much what they reminded me of. And most of them were like $300, $329, something like that. But I looked at them as a 2020 era $200 Walmart bike. Since that time, there are a couple of Highlands that I have seen, ironically, on the Walmart website. But there are a couple of, it was third-party sellers, so probably the same person that's selling them on Amazon. There is Highland, and I have seen a Eurobike or two that made me go, And I think Eurobike was the one that had a carbon fiber frame that was $700, and it looked to be decently spec'd. If I could have found out the geometry at the time that I saw that, I might have bought it. If I could have found any information on the geometry. So, yeah, Eurobike, I can't give you a yes or a no because I haven't seen one in person. Put my hands on it and put my feet on the pedals and ridden it around on a trail. So I can't tell you yes or no. I can just tell you that what I see now looks like they are stepping up as well. So that might get back to what our buddy Theo, I'll just say, instead of saying the whole name, I'll just say Theo, was talking about with so many bikes out there that even some big brands, even though the ones that I deal with, I'm pretty sure they design all their own stuff. But a lot of stuff out there, could have been designed in kind of a template and then added onto it. So that might be a case with some of these Eurobikes and the Highlands, things like that. So it's nice to see everything moving up. Hey, Roman's Downtime. Hello to you. Live chat's back. Yeah, this is about the third one. Hey, so you noticed that that is actually Copernicus. He is hiding underneath the Stormtrooper mask. I had a hat on him, but it kept falling off. So finally I just grabbed a Stormtrooper mask and shoved on his face. And I even have other stuff. If I do have a... why is that not working? There we go. Yeah, I've even got that for any super chats if there are any or anything like that. And I added an easy button to turn it off and on. And I tried to shield, I don't know if you can tell, but I tried to shield it with... It's so loud, that little fan motor, just so obnoxiously loud. So anyway, let me go back through here, just another quick glance, give some hellos. Marstall04, hello to you. You're the reason my 11-year-old built a budget. Well, hey, that's awesome. That is awesome. I love hearing that. I hope they're enjoying it. That gets back to, you can put a lot of fun into a bike that, like, I couldn't ride, that I would break instantly. But when you're 11 and you weigh, I don't know what an 11-year-old weighs, probably, 60 to 90 pounds, I'm guessing. I don't know. There's not as much stress on a bike, so they can actually make some pretty good mountain bikes out of some stuff. And there's some bikes, those 24-inch wheel set bikes. I'm looking through the list and I'm stopping them. Oh, that looks sharp. 24-inch wheels. I can't ride that. But I'll go through. There's some nice bikes that are coming out. John Mills, Kev, you need to revisit the Schwinn TAF Comp with a new budget build. It's funny you mentioned the Schwinn TAF Comp, that $124 price. I know a lot of people got into those, and I expect to see a flood of builds on those. I love that. I almost bought a second one, but then I thought I already have one, and I have way too many bikes as it is. But the funny thing, this past 2 weeks, I have ridden nothing but maybe with one or two exceptions. I've ridden nothing but the Schwinn, my daily rider, I'll put it that way. My daily rider for trail rides has been this Project TAF Comp. Been having fun on that thing. It's a good little bike. Salvo Pro, you are asking, yeah, that was a Mongoose bike that they came out with, and I think it had been out for a couple of years, and they sent me one that had been used by some pros. And I was going to compare it to the XR Pro, and then the XR Pro went away. It went away for, 2 years, and then it popped back up. But by the time it popped back up, the Salvo Pro was no longer available again. So I just passed it on for a donation. But you can go back and look. Yeah, it was kind of it's a nice little full suspension bike. You know, probably 2019 era stuff, I think. 2017 to 2019, I would say. Probably its heyday. Rob Kopp, is that Kopp? Yeah, because there's only one O. Hello to you. Nash bar circa 1996. So yeah, he likes 3x7 too. Cruiser, hello to you. And I just went right past you there. Well, I was going to read your comment, but this thing jumps as people comment. It jumps up on me. So I'll have to look at that later. Gigawatt, thanks for persuading me to buy the grit. Yeah, you bought a Mongoose grit. Awesome for you. Some small tweaks, and it's riding great. That's good. Love people seeing that. People talking about axles. That's Matt Morrison. What have you built, Renee H? You know, a Vitus frame, $89. I built a hardtail with a Vitus frame. Okay, and you also own a expensive full suspension. Less than 2 minutes and a 19-mile blue trail. Those Vitus, I have a lot of people mention Vitus stuff, so I assume that they're pretty good. Maybe one day I can check them out. Park Tool and their channel, seen it. What are we? You're talking about someone. I don't know what you're talking about there, Guy Fawkes, obviously to someone else, but I can tell you, Park Tools, here recently, I have grown to hate this stand. I have actually grown to absolutely despise this bike stand. And that's a shame. I will tell you that. So, yeah, I have my cheap one that I got from Aldi over there, and I've been seriously considering about swapping them if the footing wasn't so big on that Aldi one. I would have already swapped. So, anyway, let me get to this. Get down here and get this and make sure I don't get their name up here. Now, I have a problem with... Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to set up something. I'm going to remove this bike. I'm going to bring a different bike, and I'm going to put it on the bike stand here. So if you will give me 1 minute, because I have it over here, it plays right into this. Plays right into this. I am going to put you on my Be Right Back screen with some, I believe, jazzy kind of sounding music. So if you'll go with that for just a minute, I'll be right back. All right, that didn't take long. I put it in the worst possible place to be able to be seen on camera. This is my Cannondale Lefty. Wow, talk about being out of shape. Lifting that thing up, and that's a light bike. Moving all the bikes around and lifting that thing up. I'm a little winded. That's sad. So super, super sad. But if you didn't know, where's the handlebar there? This is my Cannondale Lefty. If you don't know what a Lefty bike is. This fork, it's only on one side there. The fork arms, there's not arms, there's an arm. It's one. And it's only on the left side. And that's how it gets the name Cannondale Lefty. Super cool, 2006 Cannondale Lefty Rush 3000 in raw. That's the color. I think they only made the raw in 1 year. I talked about this bike. I love this bike. I probably paid too much for this, but I love this bike. I love the whole Lefty thing. And I've Cannondale, I have a sweet spot for Cannondale. I've always wanted it. This is the first Cannondale I think I've ever owned. And I've always been fascinated by these. So when I had a chance to get this one, I got it, but it has a crack. Right there, it has a crack, so I can't ride this anymore. Also has a blown out Presta valve. But I can't ride this anymore because of that crack. And I had viewers comment, had a couple of people say, well, hey, you can go on Pink Bike or you can go here and you can find this, somebody that has one for 94 bucks and you can get that and use the parts and stuff like that. No. Unfortunately, this specific one is a special one. This was only made, as far as I can tell, 1, maybe 2 years. And I can't even remember this is a Fox R Carbon RS something or something like that. It is a specific one. So you have to have that fork, and I've only been able to find one of these, and it was $400 and something. I'm not going to spend $400 and something on a bike that, in all honesty, ridden this not very much. Maybe a few times a year. And it's just not my main bike. It's 26-inch wheels and stuff like that. But there's a lot of stuff on this. It's got the special headset. These shifters and stuff. A lot of this isn't just easy to replace. This rear shock, I think it's even special for this setup. So, I kind of got to a point that I'm having to make some hard decisions here. I have decorative bikes. I have the Slada. I still have the Slada, the IKEA Slada. And up above me here, I still have the Maxxis bike, the Mongoose BMX bike from Stranger Things, a Maxxis bike, which at points is hung up above my door over here, and it's about to go back to that spot. Those are my 2 decorative bikes. So I don't want this as I wanted this as a functional bike, and I want it original. If it's not original, it doesn't have the Lefty fork, then why? Just why? So I had people making some suggestions. You could do this, you could do that, you can convert it and go with a regular fork. So I had a viewer that messaged me, and I apologize, my friend. I'm going to give... There's a name on the box. I'm just going to say HP. But then there's a different name signed down here, and I don't know if that's your username on YouTube or whatever, but I'm just going to say Rico is the last part. If you will get back with me, and you'll see what you sent me here so you know it's you. If you will get up with me, I'll give you a shout out. If you have Instagram or anything like that, I'll give you a shout out there or here on YouTube because I appreciate it. But I want to mention what they said. And it's about this Lefty here. They said, as promised, an adapter headset. And I vaguely remember the conversation. I didn't know they were actually going to send it. This is for an SI Cannondale. I said this was head shock. This is actually SI. And the funny thing is, while I was saying head shock, I was looking at SI. So just can't fix stupid. But this is the SI headset setup. This is an adapter anyway. So you can run any tapered fork without removing the Cannondale cups. So God, this Cannondale brand. So this probably cost, I don't want to know how much this cost. Because Cannondale stuff is not cheap, especially when you're adapting specialty Cannondale stuff. So you can I can run any 1.5-inch tapered fork without removing the Cannondale cups. He went with Concrete headset for his bike, so this is just collecting dust. So they sent it on to me, and I really appreciate this. And it kind of puts me in I'm kind of wondering. There is the Lefty Ocho. That is the latest forks. Cannondale's not as proprietary as they used to be. Now they have standard 1.5 tapered headsets and stuff like that, and they have the Ocho fork. This is a 26-inch bike, so it'd have to be a mullet. If I could come across maybe an Ocho Lefty that was for a 27.5. But then, and so that's my first thought. I get this and I think, oh, well, I can get this back. I'll just make it a mullet and, roll with it there. But then I have to have a different wheel, because that's a special wheel to go on the special fork. So you can see my dilemma here. I appreciate this. I really honestly do. And if you contact me, I looked all through the messages. I don't know if we were just talking in a video. I thought we talked on my website, so I tried to search through all that stuff from the last month, and I couldn't find anything. So if you'll get with me, I want to give you the proper thanks for this, and I'll try to put this to good use. I figure at the very worst, maybe I can use this to convert this to a standard fork to sell it. I hate the idea of selling this, but unless I can come across this exact fork, my whole thing with this was keeping it original. This, might come in handy so it can still be useful. But I'd gotten to the point that I thought, I'm going to have to sell this for parts so that someone else has a Cannondale Lefty can maybe use it. But I don't know. Things might be changing now. Thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate that. So much so, and it's kind of funny. I went to my P.O. box to check, and there was initially a slip, but then they couldn't find the thing, and then later they found it. So, yeah, almost didn't get it, and then they found it. I'm just going to drop that there, empty box, so that won't hurt anything. And yeah, so that's the Lefty segment of this. My next topic, find the old F700 Lefty and use that fork. Well, see, that's not the same fork, though. I appreciate that. Bob? I'll say that. Bob, that's not the same fork. And I did find one that it was $250, but it was black, and it wasn't carbon right there. I like to have this original. The only thing not original here is the Bontrager tires are not original. I mean, who expects tires to be original after that many years? But these aren't the bars that came on this bike. It had aluminum bars, but an option was carbon fiber bars, and I found some old carbon fiber bars and a shorter stem. I did put a slightly shorter stem on this as well, but it's still a factory stem, or at least an option stem that was available from Cannondale. So, this is all kind of original. Pedals aren't original either, but they do match color-wise. And I kind of want to keep it that way without it being original. I don't know, if I could come across an Ocho, or maybe somebody had a Lefty fork or something that could get super cheap that would work, I might keep it just to ride it around for the shock value, because I love the look on people's faces when they see a Lefty, because so many people have never seen one before. It's kind of cool just for that, just the shock value and so on. But sinking a bunch of money into something that I just don't ride much, because speaking of 3x, that's a 3x. That is a 3x on this. It shifts pretty good, but those are weird shifters. Really weird shifters, and they do lead to some accidental shifts. So, anyway, let me get to the final topic tonight. An hour and 5 minutes, and I don't want this to stretch out too long, but I do appreciate everyone that is here. Like Darren Bennett, I don't think I've given you a hello. Hello to you. And Trevor Scott, I see you up there as well. I think you were here earlier, though. All right, so let's talk about mountain bikes and why I think that mountain bikes. Let's talk about bike shops and why I think that bike shops might be safe. Because a couple of years ago, I made a statement in one of my videos or live streams or something. I made a statement that local bike shops are in trouble. And it's something, it's not just for me. I've heard it all around. That local bike shops are in trouble because so many brands are going direct to consumer. They're starting to sell direct to consumer. You can even go to the Trek website. I love my local bike shop, the Spinning Spoke. Very awesome, great people. Have helped me greatly, and they do an excellent job. And also, they are not bike snobs. They ride high-end bikes, and they have fun on high-end bikes, but they do not look down on anyone that rolls in a $200 Walmart bike. They will work on that just as well as they'll work on a $10,000 bike and get those people riding, give them good advice, and so on. So I love my local bike shop. I'm very lucky. But it has been said the local bike shops could be in trouble because so many brands are going direct to consumer with their sales. A lot are even, they're not doing big box or any store. They're just going straight direct to consumer. Schwinn even has some direct to consumer bikes now. They have their big box line. They have Schwinn Signature. That Schwinn Costin that I reviewed, that is a direct to consumer bike sold directly from Schwinn. I think they also sell it on Amazon. That might even be their path to get it direct to consumer. But even Trek, love my local bike shop, but you can go to Trek, and I started thinking, ooh, this is the warning signs. This is the warning signs because Trek started allowing you to order on their website. It went to the bike shop, it goes to the bike shop, and they set it up and all that, but I thought maybe that's the first little step in that direction. Actually, now I know it was just them being good with online commerce and being smart. But still, so many direct-to-consumer brands like Polygon, things like that. Very good bikes, bike shop level bikes. And some of these are pre-tweaked before you even get them. So as long as UPS or FedEx doesn't beat them to death, or whatever carrier, then they're going to arrive kind of in pre-tuned shape. So my thinking was bike shops could be in trouble. Especially those that I hear about that are dissing big box bikes and won't work on anything but the bikes that they sell. Unless you're maybe in a massive volume urban area where you can really turn away stuff, you might be kind of working against yourself there. At least that would be my opinion. However, recently my thoughts have started to change, and I think bike shops might absolutely be safe. And that's for one reason. I just mentioned FedEx and UPS because recently, but I've always had any bike that gets shipped, especially big box bikes that have very limited packaging to begin with. I've had so many of those over the years arrive damaged. Sometimes I don't even share. If it's shipping damage and it's not the can't even speak. If it's shipping damage and it's not the fault of the bike. So many wheels that I've trued, little tweaks to derailleurs and things like that. Sometimes I don't mention some of that stuff because if there's a hole in the box right where that is, then I'm like, well, obviously that's what, I've had derailleurs. It was bent and it was obvious. There was a hole in the box right there and there were marks where something poked in right on the derailleur. That's not the manufacturer's fault. So I just fixed that and right on and so on. Recently though, I've had so many bikes arrive damaged. It's pretty much almost every time here, it seems like it. It seems like recently my last batches of bikes, more often than not, they're damaged from something in shipping. So I've started becoming a little more critical of the limited packaging on big box bikes. And when someone sells a big box bike that they know is going to be shipped, that it might arrive damaged. And, look at brands like this Ozark Trail. That arrived damaged. That has that picture that I shared that had the derailleur cage. You couldn't tell it in that because I pulled it a little bit in that picture. It was actually into the spokes. As a matter of fact, one of the spokes, you can see the little cage tab where it bends around. That was actually kind of binding on a spoke right there. And that cage, those that guessed that is bent and twisted were correct. The derailleur hanger was not only bent, but that derailleur cage is actually twisted. And that happened in shipping. And I want to show you. I'm not even going to pause this while I walk off over here. Yeah, I'm going to have to. I'll be right back. Enjoy this music. There we go. I'm standing up now. Okay, I'm going to show you something. I saved this box. Let me make sure my information isn't anywhere on this. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, and it's the wrong side. Switch it to here. This is the side where the derailleur was. So you can see all that damage right through here. But let me see if you can see one other thing. If I get this close, can you make out that boot print on the box? A very big boot print. That was from the shipper. And I can't remember if that was FedEx or if that was UPS. I think that was FedEx. Literally boot print on the box. So that is what damaged that derailleur. Was that. Someone literally stepped on the box. And I talked about that box right there. That's another Ozark Trail. I ordered one. Actually, they sent me this one to review. So they have a replacement derailleur and a replacement hanger on the way. But I saw that Walmart had opened them up. They're still not in my local stores, but I saw that Walmart had opened them up where you could actually order and get it shipped. I ordered one, and I'll be doggone, that one right where the derailleur is. There's not a footprint, so hey, at least there's that. I have a video, and I meant to edit it in here where I could show it to you. But I watched my Ring camera, caught the FedEx driver opening the truck, pulling it out. I could hear it like stuff falling over in there, like dunk dunk, all these knocks. So I think kind of pulled it out of stuff, and I think I heard it hit the bed. But I do know that when they got out, they walked around, they raised just about this high, reached in. It was laying, you know, this side, this end up. You see that? This end up, laying on its side, derailleur side down, because I looked at all the footage and saw he plopped it out, slammed it down on the end, and picked it up, and at least he carried it right side up, so at least there was that. But it too has marks, so I'm going to be unboxing this tomorrow, and if that has a bent derailleur hanger, I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to be so mad. But all this has made me start thinking with so many bikes that I'm getting, all brands. I'm not picking on any one brand, because I think this has, God, it's hard. That has so much potential. It really, really does. And just a cool sounding name too, the Ozark Trail. You know, I look at Ozark Trail stuff like backpacks and things like that, and I don't think cheap. I just, oh, that's Ozark Trail. Yeah, you know, good stuff. So I like the branding. I like the way we've got this set up. Well, I'll get to these when I review them, if I can get one that I can ride. But seeing this and then all these other bikes from all the other brands that I'm getting that are all messed up, that all have shipping damage, because FedEx and UPS, and yeah, I'm going to call out, I guess, FedEx and UPS, because it's like they don't even care anymore. They're just beating this stuff to death, and the packaging inside the boxes is so limited. I can't harp too much on that, though, because I have received bikes that are literally wedged in foam, and it's like if UPS and FedEx see something that's well packaged or double boxed, they take it as a challenge and think, well, so I can't step on it. I'm just going to bore a hole through it with a forklift or something like that. It's like they just try to damage stuff. I don't think they're actively, purposely trying, but whatever their methods are, I mean, they're damaging some bikes. And I've had so many people tell me that, hey, I work at a bike shop or this or that. And trust me, they come in with us just beat up too. So it's not just big box, but because it's happening so much with so many of the bikes that I have received recently, I'm starting to think maybe bike shops might be saved solely by FedEx and UPS, because at least they have the ability to fix. I mean, I can fix most of this stuff. I'll be fixing this one myself. I'll be doing all of that myself. The average person, though, I mean, just think about that. The average person that's going to buy a $398 bike from Walmart is going to need to take this out of the box. And, you know, most of us, I think probably 99% of the people that are going to watch KevCentral would be able to wrench this together without any problem. assemble it without having to look up anything or anything like that. But there are still a good chunk of customers, the average customer. How many people assemble bikes regularly? I mean, it's, we might do that a lot. I might do that a lot. You might do that a lot. But the average person probably would be getting confused by having to put on a quick release front wheel. They might have to look that up or read some instructions about it. Which way does the little spring go? Does the fat side go out or does the fat side go in? I mean, little stuff that we just take for granted that they have to think about. So when it comes to repairing, see, looking at my screen, it's all backwards. When it comes to repairing a derailleur hanger or putting a new derailleur on or having to tweak little stuff like truing a wheel, which to this day, I do not have the patience to do. It just frustrates me to death. Truing a wheel, trying to true a wheel. So I just gave up. I'll let the local bike shop do it. So think about the average customer, that $398 bike, if carriers are going to keep getting progressively worse, in my opinion, they are getting progressively worse as far as the care that they are taking and the packages that they are delivering. They're going to be beating bikes up. Hey, bike shops are going to have a lot of business and they're going to be safe, and there's going to be a lot of people frustrated. Because if I get a $398 bike, I think 435.06 or something like that was this box right there. I believe that was 435.06 tax and all. So if I spend $435 and then I have to spend, and bike shop labor isn't cheap. If I have to spend another $70 to get something tweaked, all of a sudden I've got a $500 bike there. What if it turns out that, the wheel is out of true? That might be $30 if it's badly out of true. And the derailleur hanger is bent so badly that it has to be replaced. And the derailleur cage, like the case of this one, that is bent so bad that's having to be replaced. I'm just guessing here. That could be $600 total investment that I've got to put into all this to get it all fixed. Even though, they probably send the parts and stuff like that, I would still be on the hook for the labor. That's getting into entry-level bike shop territory there. So something to think about, and I want to know what you think about that, because I think that just the carriers, the way they're beating boxes up, footprints on boxes, not cool at all. Especially, it's a boot print. That's not just a footprint. That is a literal boot print. I mean, the nice Doc Martin looking, just work boot looking tread that this has. Someone clearly walked across that, an adult stepping down on, no bike is going to be able to handle that, especially not one with just a couple little pieces of cardboard padding. Also, that's L-Twoo, L-Twoo. I call it Lieutenant Woo. I think L-Twoo is the proper name. My experience with L-Twoo is that they do work, but they are finicky to say the least. Very easy to get out of adjustment. I have one on my Project TAF Comp, and I'm not exaggerating. It sat on the back of my bike. 2 days separated one ride from the next ride. It was working perfectly. One ride sat on the back of my bike rack in my gated driveway. No one touched it. Nothing different. I go out today to ride it on the trail, and it wouldn't shift. It was like hanging between two gears. Like, what in the world? By the time I got to the middle of it, I just shifted out of that gear. And by the time I got to the middle of the trail, it was mysteriously working fine through all the gears. So I have no idea. That's my experience with L-Twoo. So what I'm getting at, L-Twoo is good stuff for the price. I welcome it on these type bikes. But it is finicky. Any little thing can kind of knock it out of adjustment. So I'm worried that shipping might be a problem. And at the very least, I guess local bike shops can enjoy it because it might save them. So that is all that I had, other than I'll give a little tease of what's coming here in just a second. But before I do, let me close out. It's going on almost an hour and a half. I'm sorry this stretched out. I thought it would be 30 minutes. So let me just give some hellos. Chinese boots. Rick Santana. I'm pretty sure that was a boot from somewhere here in the good old USA. Did that one. Because I bet that happened in shipping. Almost certainly. It's a good riddance to local bike shop in my area. They never seem to have anything in stock. Wow, I must be just really lucky. We have a very, very good bike shop. The spinning spoke. If you ever need to buy a Trek mountain bike and you're in the region, I'm in Florence, Alabama, northwest corner of Alabama, and they also have a store in Columbia, Tennessee, a Trek store. They are like some prototype Trek store stuff. They have one in Columbia, Tennessee. I believe it's Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So down at the University of Alabama, they have one. And then my local one is it's called the Spinning Spoke, but it's still in that same chain of stores. If you're in the region and you're looking for a Trek, and I'm not paid by them at all, I've given them way too much of my money over the years, but they have always treated me well. So I know they would treat everyone else. Everyone that I've ever talked to adores the Spinning Spoke and the Trek store in Columbia, Tennessee, and then of course I just mentioned in Tuscaloosa. I'm pretty sure it was Tuscaloosa. It wasn't Auburn, so I think it's Tuscaloosa. And I think it's right. I've never been down there, but I heard it was right outside of campus. So anyway, I've been really lucky with bike shops, but I do hear some stories from people that, nightmare experience and all that, but it's the same thing with cars. It's the same thing with cars. I've been to car dealerships that I love the car and I might buy from this dealership, but I would never let them service the car or vice versa. I would let this one service, but I would never buy from them and so on. So, I guess that's just the way it is when you get things. So let me just give us a look here and then we'll wrap this up. I so do appreciate everyone that is here. And let's see what we've got. Darren Bennett. I think I've given you a hello. Marcus Mustard. Hello to you. Park Tools has a nice online experience. Pump and the tire levers. I actually use tire levers that are from Walmart. They're made in the USA. They actually work really good. $3.14, something like that. And I think, Hey, Grayleaf. Hello to you. I didn't even see you in the list here. Hey, Grayleaf, you get something special here, buddy. I don't know how long you've been watching, but let's check this out. And I've even got a cam angle for this. If I can get it to work. There it goes. Hey, wait for it. There we go. This super chat cam. If you knew how long I worked to set that up, it is ridiculously long, and I still couldn't silence this motor. I tried with the padding, but there you go, Grayleaf. There you go for your super chat. Oh no, I thought he gave up on me there for a moment. Let's see if we can. His hair hung. Yeah, he's not gonna make it beyond that. But thank you so much. Oh, he's literally hung. He's still hanging up there. Still hanging up there with his head stuck to the t-shirt. So thank you so much for the super chat. Did you say anything in that super chat? Here's the future fixes. Here's the future fixes right there. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so let me get back to the chatting. And that's another regular here at KevCentral and on the live streams too. Always welcome the regulars. You guys mean a lot to me. You really, really do. All right, so let me just give some shout outs here. And if anyone has any last minute questions, anything like that, about any of this junk that's laying around here, because I have a lot of stuff coming up. Rick Santana, hello to you. Alexis Sanchez, talking to someone else apparently. I think I have said hello there. Daniel Larson, I don't remember saying hello to you. Electric bikes will save bike shop. That is very true. That is very true, Daniel Larson. Electric bikes are definitely going to save bike shops. Yeah, very good point. Very good point. So, well, they got two things going. Well, that's four. I went to UNA. They have two things going for them. They have electric bikes and they have the bikes that they're going to be working on from all this destroyed stuff that is getting shipped. Bikes that are trail-worthy from Walmart. Okay, Alexis Sanchez asks, are there any bikes that are trail-worthy from Walmart? That depends upon your definition of trail. If you're talking green trail, you can go, so backwards. You can, those aren't trail things. You can pull those. You get one tuned, find it on the rack at Walmart that's ready to go. $398, everything that is equipped on that. Yeah, I could definitely, and you'll see in video reviews coming up, that will be fun on a mountain bike trail without any problem whatsoever. That will be a fun bike. If you're going to stick to green trails, you can get away with a boundary, a TAF, an aluminum comp. I rode an aluminum comp in its factory form on mountain bike trails, on green trails, for, quite a few times before I even upgraded it. So yeah, there are definitely some bikes, but if it were me, I would focus on Kent Travail. I would consider the Ozark Trail, the 29er Ozark Trail. The Giordano bikes I do like. I like the Giordano bikes. The only problem is I was looking at the pricing the other day, and you're starting to get in, spending $678. That's Marlin 5 territory right now. Marlin 5s are on sale. So that's Marlin 5. They don't have a tapered head tube, stuff like that. An argument could be made both ways. But getting that local bike shop set up and stuff like that. But yeah, there are quite a few bikes that are, hey, another super chat. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you to you. Hey, you know what you get? I can get him turned back on. He's still stuck. All right, I'm going to free him. I'm going to free the super chat. Hey, he freed himself. I don't have to do anything. Stood up, but I guess that was a tease. Give me the stand up. Who was that did that? Let me look here. That was Rock Mumbles. That's a new name. I don't think I have seen you around here. So thank you for being here, Rock Mumbles. Wow, I really appreciate all these super chats. They do help. They help with the channel. Oh, I will put down in the description. Probably should have brought one. The 2x2 KevCentral stickers. Usually give away a sticker or two when I'm on a live stream. But I have a holographic version of this 2x2 that is only for patrons. So if you go to Patreon, my Patreon link, it's $2. $2 a month. You can get a holographic sticker. So I want to mention that to everyone. But thank you. So that, Patreon, super chats and stuff like that. Because I haven't done sponsorships, anything like that. It's getting loud and he's stuck up there. But just FYI. The Echo Dot buttons, or Echo buttons, I think they just call them Echo buttons. Bought these 2 years ago or 3 years ago for Christmas and thought, oh, what I'll ever use that for. And today when I was setting that up, I thought, I'm going to have to mute every time I tell it to turn that on. And then I was going through the routines and I happened to notice it said Echo button. Wait a minute. I think I have some of those stuck back somewhere. So yeah, came in handy. I could actually enable that. Thank you so much, Rock Mumbles. I appreciate it. Every little bit helps since I haven't done sponsorships up to this point. I don't turn anything down sponsorship-wise, but I try to stay definitely independent so I can give honest reviews. Rick Santana, hello to you. And Marcus Mustard again. And I'll read all your comments, I always do. And I see a Chris. And I see a Jared. Thanks for the videos from Chris and Jared's giving me a wave. Is that a sticker? Did I get a sticker and didn't see? But hello to you, Jared. Thank you so much, Rob Roberts. Wow, you're cute. You are apparently have vision problems. So yeah, that's funny. And you love your Giordano gravel bike. I haven't looked at the gravel bike. Cruiser there, the gravel bike. I haven't looked at their gravel bike. There was another gravel bike that I saw on the Walmart website that looked really cool. And I'm not a gravel bike person, but it looked really cool. I'm trying to remember what it was. And I've also been looking at that Huffy Crassus. I think that's how you say it. If that price gets down low enough, I might buy one of those just to play with it and see. Also see Dirty Kids 421. You're building a full suspension bike. Started with the frame from a 2005 Fuji Adventure. Lots of bike snobs tell me the bike is outdated and lackluster. It's pretty funny. The local bike shop's head mechanic and me had a conversation the other day, and I can't remember. I want to say, I don't even know what brand it was, but we were talking about how mysteriously things, when something new comes out, that whatever is not new, mysteriously somehow just quits working in the mind of some mountain bikers. It's like all of a sudden you can't ride it. You could yesterday. But something new comes out, some new spec or standard, and somehow all that old stuff, like this Lefty, God, so backwards. How can that be? Oh, because it's backwards because I moved it. It was right here, but now it is over here. That's why this is so backwards. But like this whole setup with the full, actually that looks kind of more like modern stuff there, but a lot of like the horse link and things like that. People, oh, that doesn't even work anymore. It doesn't mysteriously stop. And he actually told me a story about how he had a mountain bike that he bought brand new and it was high end. But something happened. I can't remember if he said he got injured or he had to move or something. He put it in a closet and wasn't able to ride it for 2 years. 2 years later, he gets it out, a brand new high end mountain bike, but they had changed up the way they did the full suspension. And everybody was looking at him like he had like a 10-year-old bike. And we laughed about that because that's literally how it goes. So kind of funny that you mentioned that. Dirty Kids 421 because, yeah, they do look at some things and, yeah, you can't ride that anymore. It's amazing. Michael Renoff, hey to you, or sup? Yeah, hey to you. And Great Wolf. Hey, great. We have Gray Wolf and we have Great Wolf. In one video, I got those two mixed up. But yeah, it's nice to see both of you here. This is the very end of the beard because the humidity in the beard, it ain't going to work. I can tell you that. Someone else here mentioning Raimundo Mendoza. You're mentioning the Grand Canyon 5. Someone else pointed that out to me earlier. $500 or something? I'll have to give that a look. Huffy Krampus. Mike Riley. That's the bike. No, it's the Crassus, but you're saying Krampus. I get the funniness now. I get the humor. Probably should have named it the Krampus. That'd be good. Whoa, wouldn't it be weird if they named it the Krampus, but it was a kid's bike named the Krampus? Because wasn't Krampus supposed to... Well, don't want to get into... I don't know how YouTube does all this stuff, but look into the folklore. It's kind of scary. And let's see. Hyper is good-looking gravel bike, but it's junk. I don't know which one you're talking about. But Grand Canyon on sale for $4.99 comes with a 12-speed stock. I'm definitely gonna... I'll give that a look. Don't know if I'll buy it because I have so much money going out right now. Especially because Apple just announced the new headset that I'm not gonna buy. I'm not gonna buy that headset, $34.99. But they did announce the M2 Max Studio that I will be buying because I need one. My 2009 Mac Mini is on its last legs. So beards do get itchy, hairy, grimly, but people told me in my first live stream I mentioned was getting itchy, and they said give it time. Once you get it grown in, and this is grown in for me, but once you get it grown in that it will quit itching. It does. Totally quits itching. Don't even know it's there except having to trim it and stuff. But it does get hot when it gets humid like it does here in Alabama. So let me grab this. I want to tell you just real quick and then we'll wrap this up. At an hour and 34 minutes and 30 seconds. Wow. Okay, so I want to tell you kind of what I've got coming. I have 3 brand new bikes. No shock. That's one of them. As soon as I can get one working. But I have an e-bike. I have... Well, that's 2 e-bikes because I have that electric trike. Have that coming up. I have a Schwinn e-bike. I have 5 new bikes coming. 2 of which might be minor reviews, and you'll see why I say minor review. Might just be a passing look at 2 that I have, and you'll find out why. I can't elaborate on that right now, but you'll find out why. And I also have some accessories. A helmet video that I keep moving and forgetting about, so I'll be talking about that. But I have some Schwinn accessories, some Schwinn lights, a phone mount that is probably the best phone mount I've ever seen. I gave up using phone mounts because I had so much stuff keep moving around on me. This one actually works. So I'll be talking about that. And my scooter, my other 2 wheels. Because as humidity goes up, my ability to ride, my willingness to get out and sweat to death, it goes down. So I actually spend more, I still ride bikes, but I do spend more time on a scooter in July and August than I do, actually June, July, and August. I spend more time on a scooter than I do the rest of the year on the scooter. So I kind of start splitting times. I'll ride bikes in the mornings and little night rides and stuff, but I ride the scooter in between. So I'm going to cover not only the scooter being my other 2 wheels, but also I want to talk about benefits of having a scooter versus a bike, and where that blurs with e-bikes, and also where e-bikes, and where the scooter's better in some aspects, but also where e-bikes or regular bikes can even be better as far as the city environment. It has to do with bike lanes and me not being able to get on them in the scooter, but a bike zip right by it. So I'll talk about that and just whatever else comes along, because we're kind of in peak bike season. And I don't know if you guys know, but bike season starts ramping up the end of February, kind of beginning of March. It starts to climb. Late April, it really rockets up. May is bike month. And then June, it's kind of same little plateau. It's reached the plateau. It's kind of the same. And into July, once it hits the high heat, a lot of people quit biking. A lot of people absolutely quit biking. And I worked when I was in college selling at a warehouse that they did fish and tackle. I was doing their computer stuff. But there was the same thing with them. It was so funny. Bike season and fishing season, if you made a curve or a graph, it was, I bet you could overlay them and it would be identical. The days that people would be out on bikes would be the same days people were out fishing, and so on. So yeah, the high heat, it takes a toll on me. And I see someone there, first off, Alabama Roll Tide. DS says, I ride a 2-stroke Zuma to work. Well, my scooter, if you didn't know, I have a video on it, is a genuine Roughhouse 50 2-stroke. So if you ride a 2-stroke Zuma, then you have the 50cc Zuma, a good bike. Do you have the pre-bug Zuma, or do you have the little bug-eye Zuma? I'd be curious to know. Hey, Sonia, our friend, I got thiosemi-carbazide benzoyl alcohol was here earlier, and now I see Sonia here, 2 of the longest. And I see Sonia has 2 comments. Back when I had a beard, I only took a month or so for the itching to go entirely. Yeah, I think it took me about 2 months, but mine grows really slow. Really slow. It got stuffy enough, and I can imagine the Alabama heat. Oh, gosh. Yeah, and it's only going to get worse from here. We have already hit, I think, mid-90s and crazy high humidity a month early. So it's going to be a rough summer. June through July, I actually give my shop a pretty good drop in sales just because nobody wants to deal with the heat. Yeah, Sonia, same thing. And I think we've had a conversation. I think I know what you do for a living, but I won't say. So I don't know if you want to mention there, but it kind of goes right along with people that would get outside and do things. So yeah, Dan Bob, hello to you. 2019 Dirt Jumper. This bike's at 43. You saying you're 43? Am I reading this wrong? Sometimes I read and then I go back and I watch to get all the comments. I go back and I watch. I'm like, why did I not pick up on what they were saying right there? I just want to say, Old Man's Adventures. Would love to have a live stream talk about e-bike laws. They are all over the place. Yeah, I'm in Alabama. Alabama is one of the last states to ever enact laws about anything. Case in point, we don't have emissions standards for cars. You buy a car, and when you buy it new, it says that it meets emission standards. We don't have tests. We don't have anything. Probably the one thing I don't like, restrictive laws. But that's the one thing that I would think, yeah, look around, and I'm like, oh, yeah, we kind of need that in Alabama. But as far as bike laws, there might technically be on the books, but what's enforced here? There's not anything, and I don't know of anything as far as e-bikes go in Alabama as far as enforceable or anything like that. And I hear places that have bike tags and stuff. And again, e-bike laws, I heard New York banned e-bikes for a while. So yeah, that won't happen in Alabama. We don't ban a lot of stuff here. So I guess I am lucky in that respect. But Marcus Mustard says 90 degrees Fahrenheit is the highest so far, I think. I'm pretty sure we hit 92. I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, something like that. And we're getting a break here for a couple of days. But anyway, I have the scooter part of it filmed. I just need to get some static shots so I'm kind of working voiceover and stuff like that. So that'll be coming up as well as that might actually be the very next video that you see, depending upon how things work out, if I can get the static shots in the morning and so on. So our nation needs more cycling infrastructure. Please, fellow cyclists, get involved. Send emails to your local officials. Rick Santana, I 100% agree. We actually do need, in my city, we have 2 bike lanes. One that starts about a quarter of a mile from me and goes for about half of a mile in front of the college. It's on both sides of the road, but even at one part, the road's not wide enough, so the bike lane just sort of ends, and then they put a sign up to share the road with bikes. So if you're on a bike, you have to depend upon a bunch of Alabamians and trucks and SUVs to yield the way so that you can squeeze by them to go for the kind of across the street, but it's just crossing a side street to get to where the bike lane picks back up. And then we have another section that's, I don't know, maybe a mile long, maybe 3/4 of a mile, that goes kind of by where the old hospital used to be and pretty much goes into nothing. It literally is kind of the only 2 bike lanes that we have, at least in Florence. Now, ironically, Sheffield across the river has quite a few poorly kept bike lanes, but I think they were doing them before Florence. But it is getting better around here. There, I hear talk of good stuff, bike lane wise. So yeah, but I do agree. We need more bike infrastructure. You know, keep talking about electric cars, but don't seem to think about electric charging and people in apartments and how all that's going to work out. Bikes are a good way to get around. Just saying. They're a good way to get around. Even e-bikes. You like electric cars, you should like e-bikes. Hey, Dan Bob, you're late to the party. Yeah, I'm about to wrap this up. But I do want to keep it going just long enough to give everyone a mention here that has been part of this and say hi to everyone. Working with Sonia, working alongside people that love bikes is one of the most enjoyable parts. One is a huge mountain biker. The other is a semi-old school roadie. Started working on bikes in the 80s. Wow. Meanwhile, I'm the budget bike and track bike nerd. There you go. And see, Sony even mentions it gets warm and people kind of tone it down. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up. Even my lips are drying out here. I've been talking so much. So just want to give Harry Grimley another shout there. Mike Riley again. It's been unusually cool in New Jersey. Oh, hey, you need to go to Home Depot. They have these huge fans. Buy about 1,000 of them and point them towards Alabama. If you could just kind of maybe get some people to chain line all the way down to here. I would love some of that 40s, because that's where I actually love. I'm one of those people that in those cold mornings, I love going to the mountain bike trail. I love it when it's cold in the mornings. Biking and cold actually works better with me. Benji 22. Kev, look into the Bafang M630 new e-bike mid-drive with, 250 newton meters of torque. That's a lot. That is a lot. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up here. I thank everyone that took part in this live stream. Thank you for the super chats, the people here. We'll give them one more. What did I do with the button? We'll give them one more. The kind of iffy button. Give them one more. Is he going to stick again? They gotta work. We've got to work on our communication here, Mr. Super Chat guy. There we go. Have to work on that. Need to move that shirt or something. But anyway, just wanted to thank everyone that took part. A little extra something there for the Super Chatters. Let's see if we can deflate him on camera. Yeah, there we go. So that will wrap us up for today. Thanks to everyone that took part in this. See that we've had quite a few viewers. A few thousand will tune in after the fact. If you do, feel free to comment, because I can actually reply to those comments as you comment. But the ones that I see here, I'll go back and I'll look and read everyone's comment. Thank you so much for being here. And maybe till the next live stream, which will probably be a week or two, I'll work on these other videos and see what I can get out to you. All this bike stuff, we'll get it all worked out. And you get to see those too. Thank you so much for being part of this live stream. Have a great day. Or, well, great night. Yeah, thanks.
Let's go. Yeah. I'm like an addict, do I gotta have it. I ain't even playing, got a really bad habit. If it moves, gotta grab it. Fuse like a magnet, lose, won't have it till I'm doomed in a casket. I ain't playing, got a weird mind. If you work 8 hours, I'ma work 9. If the shit tastes sour, you should taste mine. I'ma stay in power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer. Rising the song to the highest bidder. Got juice, got gas, I'ma move fast. New shoes, new tracks, like who's that? I'm new, come back, better than last. Yeah, it's a new me, never gonna look back. I'm never gonna look back. Cause damn, I was built to last. You move slow and I move fast, and that's facts. Only I can make a change. Slowly take